Hi, I'm Frank from the Watchdog team, and today we're looking at yet another suspicious project that dresses itself up like a professional broker, but behaves like a classic offshore money trap. The company calls itself AFAQ, its site is afaq.trade, and at first glance everything looks tidy: a slick landing page, a generic support email, and a glossy promise of access to global markets. Look closer though, and the shine starts to peel away, revealing the same set of warning signs we've seen in dozens of scam operations. AFAQ lists an address in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, a postal-style registration that reads like many other disposable shells. There's no phone number on the site, no team bios, no audit reports, and no verifiable regulatory ties. The only contact detail is a generic support email, and the domain itself was registered relatively recently. All of this paints a familiar picture: a broker that exists on paper and in a website, but not in any jurisdiction that would force transparency, accountability, or consumer protection. That absence of regulation is not a small omission. It's the structural absence that makes recovery and recourse practically impossible for victims. What does an operation like this actually do? It starts with presentation. The marketing promises access to markets, tools, and fast returns. The user interface is designed to build trust while avoiding specifics. The web copy speaks in generalities about liquidity and trading instruments, but refuses to name the legal entity behind the platform or to show any registration with recognized regulators such as the FCA, SISEC, or ASIC. When a platform declines to present verifiable registration data, you should not assume innocence. Assume the opposite, that there is a deliberate effort to avoid oversight. Behind that curtain of vagueness sits a set of practical mechanics used to extract money. New users are enticed to deposit funds under the pretext of gaining access to exclusive trading features or VIP support. Early on, some accounts may show fabricated gains, a standard tactic to lower a trader's skepticism and encourage larger deposits. But the real test comes when a client requests a withdrawal. At that point, the narrative changes. Sudden compliance checks, invented fees, requests for unusual documents, or demands for additional payments under invented pretexts. These manufactured obstacles are efficient at turning a willing investor into an increasingly trapped one, because many people will keep paying in the hope of finally receiving their returns. AFAQ's offshore address is not merely aesthetic, it's functional. Jurisdictions that allow such mailbox registrations typically lack the regulatory muscle to compel disclosure, auditing, or restitution. That makes it easy for operators to vanish, rebrand, or shift to another domain once complaints accumulate. The short lifetime of the domain, combined with the lack of independent reviews and the absence from official registries, strongly suggests that AFAQ was built to be disposable. The website is therefore not a gateway to markets. It's a revenue collection tool with an expiry date. Beyond the structural issues, there's a privacy angle that should alarm any rational investor. These platforms often request sensitive personal documents for verification: passports, bank statements, SWIFT confirmations, and so on. In a regulated environment, those documents are handled under strict data protection standards, and with an anonymous offshore outfit, you hand over identity documents to unknown operators who may use them for identity theft, money laundering facilitation, or to open accounts under your name elsewhere. The risk is not just monetary loss, it's exposure of your financial identity to criminal actors. If you're wondering whether any legitimate pathway exists with a broker like this, the realistic answer is no. Without registration in a reputable jurisdiction, without public verifiable company details, and without transparent terms for deposits and withdrawals, you have no meaningful protections. Banks and payment providers can sometimes help with chargebacks, and law enforcement can pursue larger fraud rings, but the success rate depends heavily on where the money went, how it was routed, and how quickly victims act. Time is critical. The longer a client waits, the harder recovery becomes. What should someone do if they've already interacted with afaq.trade? Stop any further transfers immediately. Collect every piece of evidence: emails, screenshots, transaction IDs, and the records of conversations. Reach out to your bank or payment provider and inquire immediately about chargeback options. File reports with local law enforcement and provide them with a detailed timeline. Notify consumer protection agencies and the regulatory bodies in your country, even if AFAQ isn't licensed there. Regulators track patterns and can coordinate cross-border investigations. And finally, warn others. Post factual accounts on watchdog forums and review sites so future victims won't tread the same path. AFAQ is emblematic of a wider pattern. Businesses that borrow the look and language of legitimate finance while abandoning the substance. Slick websites and glossy promises are cheap. Regulation, audited books, secure custody and verifiable leadership are expensive. When a firm opts for the cheap route and hides in anonymity, it's because it plans for a short, revenue-focused life rather than long-term client service. Treat that as the single most important insight. If a broker won't or can't show who it is, what jurisdiction controls it, and how client funds are protected, assume it is not to be trusted. At the end of the day, protecting your savings is not about bravado or luck, it's about due diligence. Cross-check domain edges, demand corporate documentation, verify licenses in official registries, and never let a smooth website replace a legal guarantee. The financial world contains many legitimate opportunities, but it's also full of clever traps. AFAQ, based on what we've seen, looks very much like one of them. Keep your guard up, keep your documents safe, and don't let glossy promises sway you from sensible skepticism. Lost money with a broker? Find out how to get it back. Contact us at watchdogonline.proton.me and leave your name and phone number so we can get back to you. The Watchdog Online team stands guard over your safety. Together we will make the internet better.